What's going on, y'all? What it is. So let's go ahead and talk about it, because a lot of people have reservations and there's growing suspicion as it pertains to the passing of Angie Stone. So if you guys don't know, Angie Stone was leaving after performing in Mobile, Alabama, and she was on her way back to Atlanta. And unfortunately, on her way back about 5 miles south of Montgomery, her Mercedes-Benz Sprinter actually flipped and collided with the 18-wheeler, and as a result of that, Angie ended up passing away at the scene, and 8 others who were traveling with Angie also were injured, and they were taken to a local hospital for further analysis and administered medical treatment. So when I first saw that there were 8 other individuals that were traveling with Angie, and I looked at the actual Sprinter van and the condition it was in, given the immediate aftermath of this horrific wreckage. Now, shout out to the 8 people who survived. I'm not saying that I wish somebody would have passed away with Angie. I know how people like to twist up words and things of that nature, but it's very much given the Lisa Lopez situation when she passed away as well. There were other passengers with her that sustained very, very critical injuries, and it's a well-known fact that Lisa was the actual driver when they had that unfortunate accident, and in this particular case, they're saying that Angie was the passenger. Now, listen, when I say that if it was Angie's time to go, it was her time to go. We all have to leave this earth one day, and we don't know the details of the case. When her Sprinter van actually flipped, maybe the 18-wheeler smashed into the passenger side, directly affecting Angie, and that's the reason why she was the only one to pass away, right? But a lot of people are pointing to the fact that Angie made a video not too long before she passed away talking about how her record label actually stole money from her and the fact that she should have been retired 20 years ago. So I want you guys to check out Angie talking about that, and then I'm gonna play a couple of clips of people voicing their concerns about this particular situation, as some of them believe that it's particularly strange that Angie was the only one to pass away.
If you only knew how much money they have taken from me, how much they have stolen from me, I should have been able to retire 20 years ago with the money I've made. But there are key people that have been driving the ships, and what they've been doing is improperly representing me, improperly stealing from me, taking things in their own hand, changing and switching lanes because they knew I didn't know that part. And even though they were taking care of themselves, they thought very little of taking care of me. One way or the other, Universal Music, you're gonna have to give up my coins. So what I'm doing now is whatever is necessary to make sure they pay me for the legacy of my life, for my children and my grandchildren. They're gonna have to give me my money. I mean, when you sit back and think Bruno Mars, Dr. Dre, when you think about all these people that have sampled music, if they're filthy rich on it, what's our problem? But everybody that works hard for 50 years should be able to retire in peace, should be able to sit back without looking for your money. And if I never get it, at least you heard it from me, because I don't know what they might do to keep from paying me all the money they owe me.
I don't know what they might do to keep from paying me all the money they owe me.
It's ridiculous that someone has played with my life and my career for this long, for their own benefit. I mean, have you no conscience? There's a special place in hell, just like my girl Selena said, for people like that. And I promise you, God said, touch not my anointing and do my prophet no harm. So even in this hour, I'm going to pray for you, because I know that God said that he will fight my battles if I would just endure to the end. When you get in this industry, there are so many twists and turns. And even though you have the Almighty God with you, they still gonna try you. Because just because I believe in God don't mean they believe in God. They don't believe in God. I'm telling on Universal and all the people that y'all work with me, y'all know who you are. You've been spotted. You've been seen. Your worth is useless to me now because I've seen the data. And I hope to God you enjoyed spending every dime you took, because you're going to give it back one of these days. That's all I'm going to say. Well, thank you so much for listening to my testimony and keeping me lifted. I am still here. The devil did not take my life, and God spared me and gave me the extra time I need.
I would never, ever, ever, ever in my freaking life believe that Angie Stone's untimely unaliving was an accident. 5 miles from her house, a Sprinter van with 8 people in it, and only one person out of the whole entire van, out of 8 people, is unalived. One person, a few minutes from her residence. If you break a mile down at 60 miles per hour, 5 miles is equivalent to 5 minutes, depending on the traffic or time of day it is. And now, from what I understand, it was at really early hours of the morning when that accident happened. Out of 8 people in the van, the person in the van who was the most important, I'm not saying everybody in the van wasn't important, but the person in the van that was most important, mostly known, was the one who gets unalive. And it's crazy because she just did a video recently exposing how she was being treated unfairly when it came to her royalties. And all of a sudden, it seems like after she made that video exposing that information, it seems like her time had already started ticking for her very last moments. Now, when it comes to Gene Hackman, we know that people pass away in threes, from what I was always told as I was coming up. Gene Hackman, being that he's an older guy, an older gentleman, 95 years old, he lived a good life. But that is really suspicious to me. Him, his wife, and his dog, and now all of a sudden, not even a handful of days, Angie Stone, something's not right here. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but something's not right about these situations, guys. You guys all know that something is not adding up. The only question is who's next. But I don't believe Angie Stone's untimely passing was an accident. I know I'm right. It was not an accident, guys. No one's going to convince me it was an accident. That stuff was planned by the people that she exposed. Money will change everything, bro. Money will change everything. When you get exposed by ripping somebody off for money, you can expect that something's going to happen, especially if you're able to expose them with proof. Something's not right, bro.
As someone who grew up singing since they were 3 years old and looked up to the music industry for a very long time, it's not until I got around the music industry and had music industry friends when I realized that I did not want to be a part of that industry. The music industry is a place that does not care about bodies, blood, life. Like, they don't see value in it at all. You are so expendable. Like, the way they can get rid of you is like that. And for some reason, they feel like we won't notice, like when something just does not seem right. For Angie Stone to have just put out, like 2 months ago, just put out a live exposing Universal Music Group for stealing all of her generational wealth, like all of her hard-earned money from her career, a 50-year career. They siphoned all of it. 2 months after that, she died. Not even just that, they tried to get her before then. They poisoned her blood and thought she was gonna die, but she didn't die. She survived that time, but they for real. And people call stuff conspiracy theories until that stuff actually, has proof that it's true. Sometimes you really don't need proof if you have discernment. And what's so saddening about it is these same people do not care about your God. They don't care about your prayer life. They don't care about none of that. They will just you. They do not care. I don't know what it is about them. They do not fear God, like, at all. They feel above God, and maybe they know something that we don't know. I don't know, because at the rate that they will off somebody, it should be studied. We heard you expose them, and I just want you to know that we all know that it was foul play, and they owed you millions of dollars, multi-millions of dollars, and we know they weren't going to pay you. And you said out your own mouth, you said, I don't know what lengths they will go to not pay me. And we saw exactly the lengths that they would go. R.I.P. Angie Stone.
All right, so you guys just heard all of that. And listen, this is the thing, right? Like I said previously, Angie Stone, it just could have been her time to pass away, right? And it's hard for people to believe that, because now that we have a knowledgeable foundation about how Hollywood works and the music industry and things of that nature, it does cause for people to start to question the validity of her passing as it pertains to how she passed and why she passed, after she exposed the music industry 9 weeks ago. Now, do I believe that Angie Stone was targeted personally? I'm just gonna say that I always keep my antennas up, and I'm just keeping it all the way 100. But I just feel so sorry for her daughter Diamond and also her son Michael, because I know how it feels firsthand to lose a mother. Maybe not in that fashion that they lost their mom, but when you lose your mom, you just lose your mom, and it's just something that is very hard to cope with. And I do want to extend my condolences to her entire family, right? Because I know that they're grieving, and it's just a very sad situation. And another thing that I want to say, I don't think that Angie got the credit that she deserved while she was alive. I think that we owe her so many flowers. You know, she was a part of the music industry almost all of her life. And I would say this in regards to how I feel about Angie, even though I've never met her before, just the way she talked and the way she carried herself, it felt like I knew her, like I knew her for a very long time, like she was family, you know? And so when somebody has that effect over you that you've never met before, that just says a lot about that person. But anyway, I'm gonna let this go right here. I want you guys to drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about all of this, right? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and if you're new here, consider subbing to the channel. I'll get with you guys later. Peace.